All right, and now we have concluded game week 37 of the English Premier League. So let's take a quick look at some of the results that we had over this weekend and a big reveal towards the end of this video, so stay tuned. So Liverpool went away to Aston Villa at Villa Park and they lost 4-2. It was a very interesting game. Morgan Rogers, Ollie Watkins putting themselves on 4 goals between those two, and let's not forget John McGinn scored the last goal number 4 to seal the deal. Szoboszlai did his absolute best there. Van Dijk managed to get 2 goals for the guys for Liverpool, but unfortunately it was just not enough. They lost out, and that's just the scenes. Then we move over to Saturday, where we had, the FA Cup final, and I think we saw that Manchester City took the title home. But so there was no Premier League matches that day. But then we had Sunday. We did have some Premier League games. We had Manchester United going up against Nottingham Forest at Old Trafford, and they did manage to win 3-2. Again, Manchester United conceding 2 goals, but it was brilliant goals nonetheless. For Morgan Gibbs-White, but Manchester United finally, Bruno Fernandes equaling that assist record alongside the likes of Kevin De Bruyne and Thierry Henry. 20 assists for him and 1 game left to go. Do you think he's going to break the assist record? I don't think he's going to break it because it's Brighton away they play next, so I don't think they have what it takes to break down Brighton. Probably going to be a 0-0 game, but we'll see how that pans out over the weekend. And then we had Brentford and Crystal Palace go toe-to-toe, 2 goals apiece. It was a solid draw. We had I think Dango Ouattara with a brace and Ismail Assar with a goal as well. It was very interesting to see those 2 teams go dynamic for dynamic, because Brentford are trying to get into Europe, so every single point for them matters at this stage. And then we had Everton Sunderland. Very interesting. That was the shocker for me for the weekend, if I'm being honest, because I was not expecting Everton to lose at home and to lose in the fashion that they did against Sunderland. Regis Lebris was absolutely cooking and they looked very solid in that game. But Leeds with a dagger in the 90th minute from Calvert-Lewin to score the only goal of the game. They beat Brighton and probably going to finish on the upper echelon of those teams that were battling relegation. So for me, they have been the best promoted side so far. I wouldn't say Sunderland, but so far. Wolves Fulham draw. Wolves are already relegated, so nobody really cares about them that much. And then we had Newcastle going up against West Ham. I was expecting this game to be much tighter, but Newcastle just had way more quality. And the player I talked about, William Musula, he was bagging. He was absolutely cooking them. They had no answer to him, and it was just obvious that Newcastle were just the better side at home. But the relegation battle is still on. And then we move on to Monday. It was Arsenal Burnley. Arsenal professional performance, 1-0. No too much talk. Get the 3 points, put it in the box, and move on. That was pretty straightforward stuff. And we saw that, we saw how the game went. It was Kai Havertz with a beautiful header crossed in by none other than Bukayo Saka. So it was pretty straightforward. And then we moved into Tuesday, Bournemouth, Man City, and then the other side of relegation battle, Chelsea, Tottenham. So Bournemouth, Manchester City, the Cherries at the Vitality Stadium. Atmosphere was through the roof, and we saw how crazy it was. I mean, Bournemouth is a top 6 team trying to get into the Champions League, so they had every single team to play for going up against Manchester City, who also were chasing the title. But unfortunately, the metal from Bournemouth was just too thick and City couldn't cut through it. It ended in a 1-0 draw, and that allowed for Arsenal to become 2026 or 2025-2026 Premier League champions. That result defined it, so it didn't have to go to the last day. That Arsenal Palace and Manchester City Villa game for next weekend is just not going to be where the title is going to be decided. And then we had Chelsea go up against the guys from Tottenham battling relegation as well, but they couldn't beat Chelsea. Chelsea have sort of picked up a little bit of form, but unfortunately Tottenham just didn't have the answers. Richarlison managed to score, but wasn't enough to get the job done. And unfortunately, it will now have to go to the last day. So Tottenham have to either draw or win to guarantee themselves staying in the Premier League for another season. Meanwhile, West Ham go away to Leeds, or rather they host Leeds. I think they host Leeds, yeah. West Ham hosts Leeds in the next game, and if they win and Tottenham lose, then Tottenham will be the relegated team. So, what do you think? Who do you think stays up? Who do you think gets relegated? Well, tell us in the comment section. I will see you in the next video.